Welcome to Shootin the Sport, where I sit down with your favorite coaches, athletes, and people in the industry to shoot the, you know. I'm Matison Little, and today's guest is a reporter and host across various ESPN platforms. You'll most likely recognize her from The Huddle on ACC Network. We talk about her different roles, the path she took to where she is now, and of course, I got her insight on the upcoming football season. Taylor Tannebaum, welcome to Shootin the Sport.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm so excited. Finally, we've been trying to do this for like ever, it feels like. So thank you.
Well, I'm so excited and I'm glad that I waited because this is one that I've been really looking forward to. I'm not gonna lie, it makes me a little bit nervous that you're kind of like this pro host and here I am trying to host this show right now.
I learn on the job every day of my life, and I promise you, I'm not a podcast host. This is a different realm for me, so it's all you. And for what it's worth, for the people listening, I'm very proud of everything you've accomplished. You're a hard worker,
Thank you.
so you're good at what you do. Don't discount it. I'm still learning over here.
I thought ahead of time, I was like, maybe I should just let her host.
No, this is all you.
Well, speaking of that, host, reporter, ACC Network, you're on ACC Huddle, ACC PM.
Yeah.
What is kind of, I know right now we're in the off season, things are probably, I mean, from the outside looking in, I would assume slow, but it seems like you've had a hectic week. What are you doing right now?
So, well, first and foremost, if you can see, and I hope it doesn't lose so much service as we do this, but this is a very empty ACC Network studio here on campus in Bristol because ACC Network's dark during this time of the summer. There's kind of just old programming running because, in the college world, it never really stops once football kicks off. And then as soon as baseball ends, we get a little bit of a break. So ACC Network kind of quiet right now. No true responsibilities until ACC football kickoff in late July. So right now, my life is kind of getting my life together, hanging out with my dog, going on long walks, and also doing some other things around ESPN that I can get my hands on, WNBA hoop streams on digital. So just kind of enjoying the summer and getting ready for what's to come in really just a couple of weeks at this point.
I know it's crazy how I feel like basketball season just ended and now I was
Right.
just telling you I'm getting my football schedules and things are just moving so quickly. But you have these summer months, and especially in my position as a freelancer, where things kind of, like you said, slow down.
Yeah.
And in my mind, it's always kind of this scary moment where I'm like, okay, how am I going to make ends meet? What's next for me? How do you remain confident in these situations that are a bit slower or nerve-wracking as they are in this industry?
No, you're right. And for me, the one benefit I do have is, I have a full-time contract. So, and really, they can call me any day of the week and be like, hey, we need you to fill in on this. And I pretty much have to say yes, which is a wonderful blessing. But you can, get in your head a little bit over these couple of weeks and think, am I doing enough? Because this business is so competitive, but it's a constant reminder. I try to remind myself, like, life isn't rooted in work and the work will come and you sometimes forget how busy you are when you're not in the middle of the trenches. So just to remind myself, like, I earned these weeks off. It's really just a reset. It's not even being off necessarily. You're always in it, right? When you have your phone, you're always in it. So just enjoying the time that you do have with your friends and your family, because you don't get that during football season or basketball season for that matter. And the work comes. It always does. So even when I start to get a little anxious, I always know it's right around the corner and it's short-lived. And it always ends up being what it's supposed to. But we deserve our time off. You know what I mean? We deserve those moments of peace and clarity.
We do.
We
We
do.
do, even if they drive us crazy. But
Yeah.
I want to move all the way back. Where did your love for sports start? Were you an athletic kid? Were you kind of just watching sports with dad? As I know a lot of us women in sports, that's how we fall in love with it. What's your story?
So for me, I was, you know, an athlete growing up, not a high level athlete. I was not a Division 1 athlete or anything like that, but I played soccer growing up. I played flag football in high school, all that good stuff. And sports was just always in my family. Really, it started because my dad owned sports memorabilia stores growing up. And so we had tickets to everything from, I'm from South Florida. So, Miami Heat, Miami Dolphins, Florida Panthers when they became a team, the Marlins when they became a team in the early 90s. So I grew up going to sporting events. That's all I really knew. My dad worked weekends and he had a store and would have autograph sessions. So that's always what I was around. My grandma my mom's mom was always very involved in sports. So when my grandparents would babysit me, we'd be watching wrestling or be watching baseball, and she'd always come over for football on Sundays, and she taught me tennis and all this stuff. So it was always just like a family affair. And I think really it was always just about the team aspect, and the way it brought people together is different than really anything else. Maybe music and sports are two of the things that bring all walks of life together. And I just always found joy in it. It's for the most part, unless you go on social media during sports and everyone's fighting with each other. But that's the beauty of it. And I think that's what I always loved about sports and athletics is just the joy it provides and the stories involved. And much like you and I, we love stories, right? We like to learn about people. And I think that's really what stuck with me as a little kid and beyond.
So when did you decide you wanted to make a career out of it?
Actually, I think kind of early on, like, well, in fifth grade at Central Park Elementary School, I was part of the morning announcements, and it was like genuinely on TV. Like, I have a picture of myself as a little girl, behind the camera, and that was in fifth grade. You either got to choose to do TV or be safety patrol, and I chose to do the morning announcements. And really, it was like cooler to pick safety patrol, but I didn't care. And then, I have a cousin that worked at a local TV station and a next door neighbor that did too. So I frequented the station, and the cameras were around at my neighbor's house a lot of the times when the news truck would come for live breaking news, and he would have to broadcast out of his house. So I kind of always, just was fascinated by it. And then in high school, I joined CTV at Cooper City High School, which was our Friday TV show, and it was a class. And I started calling games for my high school football team before that became like a big thing. We were one of the first schools that did digital broadcasts, and I'd cut highlights for our Friday show. And I just knew like that's where I wanted to go. And I'm a yapper. So I think it just was an easy fit. I really always, I think I knew since I was a little girl.
Similar to you, I was on morning announcements in
Yeah.
elementary school through middle school, high school. Eagle News Network, I was me and the assistant principal. We did the morning
Love it.
news in fifth grade. I also had the choice to be safety patrol, but I didn't
Same.
get to talk, so I had to be in a stairwell by myself or opening car
No,
doors. Not for me.
no, we wanted to be reading the lunch menu to the school. You know what I mean?
Literally, word of
That
the
was cool.
week.
Right. Exactly.
And then you went to Florida State.
I did.
Okay, so I'm from Florida too. I went to UCF.
Yep.
I'm also from South Florida, so love that you grew up around all the South Florida teams. In Florida State, what did you do to be involved in the sports scene at that level? Because I know a lot of the people
Yeah.
that listen to this are aspiring broadcasters or people in college looking to get started.
Yeah, so for me, it was a little bit different at Florida State. Like, I grew up wanting to go to Florida because they had the best broadcast program, one of the best in the country, and they still do. I didn't get in, so I went to Florida State, and they don't have a true Florida State broadcast program. It's more of like, it's called media production, and you learn behind the scenes, you learn camera, you learn editing. And there was one class at Florida State. There was intro to sports, intro to reporting, and then advanced sports feature production. I took that advanced course four times with four different course codes. Like, I was a TA. I took it as an elective. I think one of the codes was probably like not even the right code. We just made it up just so I could be in the class because there weren't a lot of on-camera storytelling opportunities. A lot of it was on the technical side, behind the scenes. And I got involved with Seminole Productions, which is even bigger and better than it's ever been before now. But there was a monthly show that aired on, regional sports network. And, I would do long form feature stories. And that's when, I really actually going into college had a fear of writing. Like, I hated writing. Going back to my elementary school days, I did bad on the FCAT and it ruined my life. And I was so sad about it for the rest of my life. And I think it made me really discouraged. And then in college, I actually at the end of it won an award for being the best writer in the class. And that's really where, some of my teachers really saw something in me and invested in me and pushed me to be better. And one of my teachers there is the one who found me my first job in Dothan, Alabama. He was Lee Gordon was his name, and he's the best. And he set me up for my first interview. So I really just kind of carved my own path at Florida State. Interned where I could, down in Miami and Tallahassee, and we didn't have as many opportunities on camera as students do now because there's so many digital platforms. But I made the most of it, and I put a little reel together, maybe it was like a minute long, and I got a first job, and that's kind of all you really need. Chart your own path.
I similarly, again, our stories seem to be aligning pretty closely. FCAT really got me because if you're not from Florida, you don't know the FCAT.
Yeah, standardized testing, maybe.
But at UCF, there was a broadcast journalism program, but sports, I felt personally, were always kind of pushed to the back burner. It was very news based, very get the story, get the breaking news.
Right.
But I obviously was not made for breaking news. I didn't even
Me
want to go
neither.
work at a TV station. I know you took that path, but that was something I didn't want to do. So I spent a lot of time hunting opportunities. My first semester there, I was hunting internships,
Right.
getting involved with the athletic department. They started using sideline reporters my last semester, and I was one of the first ones that, got that
So cool.
opportunity. But to see the growth of this industry even since then, I only graduated 2021, so
Right.
almost 4 years ago. In the last 4 years, it's grown like exponentially. Where do you see this industry going?
Well, in that direction. And the growth is going to continue, and a lot of it's going to be digital. Like, even here at ESPN, there are a ton of digital opportunities. I do a lot of live stream digital shows and go straight to YouTube, straight to Facebook. And it's just another way to get information out there. And because, sometimes you can't wait around for the show that airs at 10 or 11 o'clock because so much happens throughout the day. So you want instant gratification and you want to get that news out quickly. There's so many ways to do that, whether it be YouTube or Facebook Live or TikTok. Like there are so many opportunities now for people. Not, you don't even have to go local or go regional or go network. Like you can make your own channel and build your own network, so to speak. And create a following and a really good one at that. And I think that's just the direction it's going is however you can get information out, you can succeed. It doesn't matter how you do it. And people will gravitate toward it if you're a good person, if you work hard and your content is relatable. And I think that's the biggest thing is being relatable, right? Like, you follow influencers and all that good stuff because you want to, you can relate to them and you want to learn something. And there's so many means and ways to be able to do that now. Like, the sky is the limit. There's no right or wrong way to do it now.
Well, you kind of touched on it, but in a world that is so accessible and so many people can be in this space, how do you set yourself apart?
Oh. Well, I'll be the first to tell you, like, I'm not a TikToker. Like, I don't even check the app. I'll go weeks without checking the app, and I'm trying to make a concerted effort to be better because I do think that's a really important space. I just continue to be me, and it got me this far. And I like to think that if you continue to be a good person and you don't try to be anyone else, because that'll be discovered and as fraudulent very quickly. I hope that if you continue to be yourself, people will continue to reward that. And so far in my career, that's worked. So the only way I really separate myself is I like to have fun. I like to, understand the people, not just that I'm talking to, like the athletes, but the people I'm working with, to create sort of like an atmosphere where it's not so serious and you're hanging out with your friends and your family, talking sports, listening to sports, and having a conversation. So, just being authentically me and just showing personality and reminding people like none of us are perfect. I'm going to make mistakes. So are my analysts. So are the camera people. But at the end of the day, you just want to have a good time watching people and talking about sports. And I hope at the end of the day that like that translates and continues to help me moving forward in my career, being myself. There's no other way to do it. I'm not on here building this crazy TikTok following. I don't post to Instagram as much as I probably should. But so far it's worked out okay.
Well, as someone that has followed you for a few years now and watched your journey, it definitely translates. You're
Well,
definitely
thank you.
someone that I look at and I'm like, she loves her job, she enjoys being there. So you're doing a good job.
Thanks. And I think just letting people know, like sort of making friends with viewers. Like you don't necessarily have to talk to them all the time. Like, but people want to know about your dog. And I'm gonna be an aunt soon. So like, that whole aspect of life. And then you just become connected to the person and then they inevitably watch. So I think that's just such a critical part of what we do is just making it relatable to the human beings at home.
Well, you do a good job as a reporter and a host. You kind
Thank you.
of have gotten to play both parts, sometimes at the same time.
Yes.
How do you think that those two roles are different, but also how are they similar?
Oh, okay. So the similarity between, like, say, a sideline reporter and a host is you obviously have to prep for both. And I think that's one thing people don't really see, even though I work in the conference and I'm around it all the time, like you're constantly studying because it's ever changing. So the amount of effort you put into meetings and conversations and research and listening to podcasts and reading articles is a lot for both jobs. Even though maybe you have less time on air when you're a sideline reporter than you do as a host, you still have to have just as much information at your disposal because you don't know what you're going to have to use. So I think that's the most similar thing. And another similar part is just you don't want to be a robot. Like you want to have fun and reveal your personality, whether it be sidelining or at the host desk. Now, the biggest difference is when you're at the desk, you're very reliant on the analysts that sit next to you, and you don't have to know everything. And you have to make sure you're being the conductor of the train. You're being the leader and you're guiding the conversations and you're making everything flow. When you're a sideline reporter, you're part of that crew. But when they come to you, it's really just you and you yourself telling the story and then you toss it back up. It's a little bit more alienating when you're the sideline reporter than you are when you're the host. They're just two totally different jobs, but they both involve storytelling. Um, and you have to certainly be a lot more concise when you're a sideline reporter than you do as a host. I try to make it a little more conversational at the desk, whereas sideline reporting, you kind of get in, get out.
Right.
Yeah.
As part of ACC Huddle, last season was your first official season.
Yeah.
How do you feel like you grew in that role?
Funny because I was just, I spent some time this summer since I have time going back watching some of the shows to critique myself. And things I thought were good back then, I look back and I'm like, God, that could be so much better. But that's part of it, right? Is, you have a season under your belt and you're kind of in the trenches in the midst of it, and then you finally get to breathe and watch it. And that's why repetition is so important because now if there's a season two, you come back and everything will just be a little bit better, a little bit better, and then the show overall becomes much better. Um, but I learned so much in that role, and I grew throughout the season by watching myself and asking my analysts what they like, how I can be better, asking my bosses, hey, can you watch this segment? I thought it was good, but how can it be better? I didn't like this. What did I do wrong? Really self-analyzing. And it was so much fun to watch my growth throughout the season because in the beginning you could definitely tell I was very much like, make sure we get through the show and it gets done and I don't make a mistake. By the end of it, we were just having fun up here, and you have an entire season of knowledge of not just how the show works, but obviously of the season. So you have things that you can rely on in terms of statistics and storylines. And by the end, it was almost just like we were having a conversation as pals up here, and I wasn't as worried about what camera was working and who was in my ear. So the growth was really cool to see, and I hope that continues this year because it can be so much better, so much better.
Do you have a favorite memory from season one?
There are a few. We had a couple of really good memories. One was certainly traveling to SMU for the first time and getting to watch them play Florida State, and they whooped Florida State, but getting to really feel their environment was so much fun. Virginia Tech on a Saturday night is always the freaking best. Like, I just think it's the coolest place in the world. And that Saturday night was the final week of the regular season. So that was like a massive night where we're watching all these games go down and Syracuse beats Miami. And ruins Miami's chances of going to a playoff. So we're watching that all together. And then Clemson loses earlier in that day to South Carolina. But then because Syracuse beat Miami, they were in the ACC championship. It was just a crazy day. That was wild. But my greatest memory was going to Ireland week 0 to cover Georgia Tech and Florida State in their kickoff game. It was second to none, and I'm so grateful I got to have like an overseas work trip, which I never asked for, but was just unforgettable.
Was it tough to watch Florida State's season last season?
On a personal level, yes, just because you care about, you develop relationships with coaches
Right.
throughout your time. And Mike Norvell is such an amazing coach, and he's great for the school. And I hate seeing fans bash players because these are young men and women, for that matter, working their tails off and trying to go to school and play their sport at the same time. And I just know they're better than that.
Right.
And it was tough to see, the fire inside them dim throughout the year. But it's weird when you're in this job, you kind of like lose fandom.
Yeah.
Like you want them to do well, but you also are so proud of all the other people that you cover, and you just want everyone to have fun. Like truly, like you want
Right.
everyone to be good. So you sort of lose that like anger fandom where it's like, oh, I can't believe we lost that game. It's sort of just like, dang it.
Yeah.
But it was tough to watch because you care about the humans
Right.
involved.
I
Yeah.
talked about it last week on this show. I found that I find myself rooting for players that I've had like interactions
Yes.
with or coaches I've had interactions with more so than the team. Like Gabe Davis, his jersey is above me. Of course, he went to UCF, but I was there at the same time as him. So now I found myself rooting for the Bills and the Jags, and I'm like, I would have never been
Who cares? But you
a
do
Bills
care.
fan, but
Right.
yeah,
Right.
um, things like that. Now, as we look towards season 2 for you, do you
Yeah.
have a team that you think is going to excel this year, or who are you picking for ACC this year?
I think the ACC is actually going to be a lot of fun. I think there are a lot of dogs in the fight, and for different reasons. Clemson is the top dog. They're the defending ACC champions for a reason. They've won 9 under Dabo Sweeney at this point. Made the college football playoff last year. They have pretty much everybody coming back, and not just everybody coming back. They've added some really important pieces through the portal and some really talented freshmen too. Changed the defensive coordinator, and Cade Klubnik really showed a lot of people last year at quarterback that he can take steps to be better. He did it last year. I expect another one. So that's a team not just in the ACC to beat, but I would say nationally. Like they should be a top 4
Right.
team in the country when it's all said and done. In my opinion, what they have on paper, schedule's not easy. I'm so interested to see what Miami looks like without Cam Ward at quarterback, but I think the standard's been set. Uh, they have to be competing for a college football playoff spot. Like that's
Right.
just where they are as a program. I just want to see what it looks like post Cam Ward and how that kind of changed the dynamic of the program as a whole. With Carson Beck coming in, I think they can ride that wave. It's not going to be Cam Ward, but there's a lot of talent in Miami, and they're in position to do some big things. Obviously, the storyline in Carolina is crazy with Bill Belichick. Like, what the heck are the Heels going to look like? Hopefully, there's not a ton of drama.
Right.
But Louisville and SMU are 2 other teams in the ACC that I'm like, these are 2 teams that may not get all the national love, even though they should, but they're going to be extremely competitive.
I'm interested to see, speaking of the Bill Belichick stuff, because I live
Yeah.
about 30 minutes from UNC, what ticket prices are going to do. Because last year you could get in there real easy, but I don't think that's going to be the case this year.
No, 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 no. I expect that because they open up on a Monday night hosting TCU, and it's going to be sold out. And, fans are excited, as they should be, because it's a new era, and this is what they want in Chapel Hill. They want excitement, not just around basketball, but football too. They want to be competing for championships. I don't know if they have the personnel to do it. I truly have no clue what this program looks like. There are so many new faces, including obviously at the head coach position. But I think at the end of the day, you're going to see competitive football because of who the coach is. I just don't know to what level,
Right.
game in and game out. I have no idea. I have no barometer for this team.
Well, we touched on things football in your journey, but I want to know when you are off, so over these last
Oof.
couple of weeks and leading up, what are you doing in your free time?
Nothing. Which sounds so lame, but it's true.
Same.
Sometimes you kind of just want to do nothing. Look, I do a lot of the things normal people do. I binge watch television. I'm currently, Love Island girl, DCC, Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders on Netflix, all
Yep.
that good stuff. Was keeping up with the Karen Reed trial, all that kind of stuff. Watching all the documentaries, the Dateline's coming out about that now. Do a lot with my dog, especially because it's nice out. I moved to Connecticut in the winter and I was like so miserable. So now, like, taking advantage of the sunshine and taking nice walks and hikes with my dog because Connecticut's actually very pretty. If nobody knows, I've taken some trips. I went to Alaska with my family, which was really cool. I try to go visit as many people as I can during this time since I don't necessarily get to do that. So I'm going to a friend's wedding coming up here shortly, and my brother came to town. Just living like a normal life, kind of finishing decorating my apartment, working out as much as I can as I sit here and drink this giant soda on air. So, yeah, just like living like a normal person would during a summer break.
That's awesome. I'm a new dog mom. I say new,
I love your
December.
puppy. I
He's
love your
my
puppy.
whole world. He's actually sleeping over there, but we'll
He's
leave him
so
be.
cute.
But yeah, so I'm out and about trying to get, it's just so hot here in North Carolina right now that it's tough. But
It's
trying to get
brutal.
him everywhere, get him in the water and have fun. So
I
I
know.
can relate. And I did also binge DCC within 2 days.
I know. It's great. And, I just watch them. I'm like, man, I wish I could dance like this. Like, I'm in my head, I can. Like, I'm sure
Oh,
for you
same.
too, you're like, that's really not that hard. Yeah, right. If I went home right now and tried, I should film it. And you can use it as B-roll over your podcast. We would go
Well,
viral.
I would be lying if I said I didn't get really cocky because I grew up as a cheerleader and a
Oh,
dancer, and I
see?
definitely tried a kick line and I almost pulled a hamstring, but I
Mm-mm.
can't do
Mm-mm.
it.
You can have that. I watched that. I'm like, this is not, you guys aren't human.
No, no. And just
Those
to
are
do
my
it all,
really
it
exciting
looked so
hobbies.
good.
Oh, and they look amazing. They do their makeup to perfection. I'm like, this was done by our makeup artist here. You're not going to see me doing this. That's for sure.
What is next for you? What do you want to do, or where do you want to be 5 years from now?
That's such a good question. And like, if you would have asked me this 5 years ago, I would have said working at ESPN, right? Like, that's everyone's ultimate goal. Like, when you're in college and people think our job is so cool, right? And they're like, so are you going to work at ESPN? And I'm like, hopefully one day. Like, sometimes I have to stop and smell the roses and realize, like, I drive into this building every day. And that's really cool. So in the next 5 years, if I'm still doing this, then I'm grateful. Working at this company and continuing to elevate, and the huddle shows that you watched last year are 5 times better because I keep continuing to grow, then that's all I can ask for. I'd love to try my hand at, some other sports and even at the professional level because I used to cover, pro sports when I did local TV, like, it's starting to get more involved on the WNBA side because I love that sport so much and I think there's so much potential and so much fun you can have with it. It brings me a lot of joy when I get to do stuff on the W side. And if I can incorporate some more sidelining in the mix somehow, I'll do it. I'm always begging them here, like, hey, put me on this assignment. I did gymnastics, I'll do hockey, I don't care. So just continuing to hone those skills and we'll see. I don't know. Still probably walking my dog around the neighborhood in the heat, just working at ESPN. That's all I can hope for.
Love that, and hopefully my desk will be just down the street from yours.
Come on. We could use some help, always.
Well, I just wanted to thank you so much for coming on and giving me your time. I know that you are busy,
Always.
busy, but I really do appreciate you, and I definitely look up to you and just love that you've been so kind to me in my own journey, and I wish you nothing but the best.
I'm so proud of you. And the fact that you even went and started this podcast is so awesome. And sky's the limit. Like you said, you graduated in 21. Like, we'll see you soon. I'll keep the desk warm for you, okay?
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Always.